King?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Hall?
Yes.
The next item is the public hearing on the 2015 municipal budget. We will not be adopting tonight, correct, Mr. Blasio?
Correct.
But the budget was published and we are ready for the public hearing.
And like you and I talked about this, Pat, I want to make sure that we set it for a time that we can have a town hall meeting in between, so the public can come out and, obviously more people than hopefully heard tonight can come out and weigh in, and we also have time at the table if we want to talk about something that might change.
Good idea.
Okay?
So for clarification, you're saying you're offering a town hall meeting on top of this?
Oh yeah, we talked about that from the beginning as a budget committee. We just wanted to get to this point, and we knew we weren't adopting tonight. We just basically had a public hearing, which we'll have another one in the form of a town hall meeting, and we're going to bring it back to the council table. We'll probably have another one there too.
Okay, do we have a potential date for that?
We're hoping it's going to be one of the last weeks in May or first in June. That's why I'm going to ask. We go to the second meeting in June. Is that okay? No issues with statutory or any?
Sooner, I don't know if you want to hit the second meeting or the first meeting in June.
Well, I can try. Let me make sure you have the facilities lined up.
Okay.
Okay. But I definitely want to make sure we said we committed to a town hall meeting, so I want to have it.
And I may not be in the first council meeting.
Okay. Well, worst case scenario, we'll definitely have, obviously, Pat makes it, and we have a presentation at the town hall meeting, and we go from there. Okay? Let's open the public hearing, folks, on the 2015 municipal budget. Name and address, please, for the record.
Barbara Iannucci, 28 Shrewsbury Avenue. I have a first few questions, I guess, on the process or the authority. We are now having a hearing where people can make comments, whether they're for or against this proposed budget. Who has the final say as to whether you listen to any of our recommendations and actually make some changes based on them?
I would believe in the end it's the council as a whole. That's what we're elected for.
So at the town hall meeting, we may see some changes based on comments you...
Yeah, because depending on the setup of that meeting, meaning the date and the facility, I would like that hopefully we can get the budget committee together again too, because now we've had weeks to absorb this, if you will.
Right.
And we're going to get feedback tonight and at the town hall meeting.
Okay.
And then we'll open it up again in the meeting in June.
So it's up to the council to recommend changes to the budget.
Or the public, or the finance committee, which we will meet again.
And then also another question, before the budget was submitted by department heads and staff and administration, was there any directive given townwide to say, let's hold and freeze some costs here,
Well, the budget
let's cut
committee,
by 5%?
yeah, the budget committee, we talked about a possibility and a feedback from the department heads on a 10% reduction. And then we kind of looked at each individual line item as they came back, and the feedback came back.
Okay.
In other words, some are obviously set by, contracts, wages, things like that, and, labor agreements that go X amount of years, and some were not. Some were we were looking at a lot of the things that said other, and trying to, clarify
Okay,
what
so
those are.
at the onset of this process, the officials were told to go with the mindset of trying to reduce it by 10%.
We recommend it,
That was
right, from the committee.
Okay, because based on what is on the town site and the line items and the comparisons to real numbers in 13, real numbers in 14, that did not happen. Everything just automatically went up.
In most cases, I would agree.
Right, so I would like to see as a member of the public an effort for either freezing and staying wholly with the 2014 numbers instead of just across the board increasing them, or follow your directive and at least attempt to get it down to 10%, because our real numbers are showing that our proposed numbers are either highballed for expenses and lowballed for revenue, but when the real numbers come in, you can see the discrepancy, and to react to real numbers and not to just turn to your proposed numbers that were done last year.
Sure.
Because I went through this budget and dissected it, recategorized line items into different categories, and there has been no attempt to decrease or to at least not have a tax increase this year. And
I wouldn't agree with the no attempt. I think that there was a lot of conversations that happened.
I'm sorry?
I wouldn't agree that there was no attempt. I think there was a lot of conversations that have been happening
Well,
ongoing
I'm
behind the
I'm
scenes.
only looking at numbers as.
I understand your
the
opinion.
answer.
I'm not saying you're
Yeah,
wrong. I'm just saying I don't agree with part of it.
At a meeting that I did not attend or hard to follow.
Okay.
But I just want on the record that I do not accept what you have proposed here at all.
Okay.
And there should be no increase at all after a 9.5% increase last year and a very healthy surplus. There's no need to go and make the taxpayers kick in some more money. And that's all I have to say.
It's a fair opinion. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions on the budget? Sir? Maybe
Hey, Greg Wells, 246 Bayside Drive. We got a lot of other line items. I assume that's normal.
I'll ask our CFO to weigh in on that. But yeah, the
Yeah,
ones I've
because
seen,
that's
yeah.
part of like the format that you have to do this in. How do we get detail from, or who do we get detail on what the other is made up on?
You'll
And a
go to work.
specific follow-up for Tim. I'm still trying to figure out what 11,200 for parks and playgrounds, and 22,500 for community center other. Can I get some detail? What
Community center other, and that's a budget category not directly rated to the community center as a facility.
Yeah.
Community center other incorporates all the programs that are run throughout the year, facility costs, materials. I can get you a pretty decent breakdown of that number. That number, and I'm not certain if anyone else can concur, I don't think that number went up from previous years.
No, I think he's questioning where
Yeah, I
it's
just want to see
going.
what it's being spent on. I'm not even questioning whether it's valid or invalid. I'm just curious. Is that so you can give me a line item?
I can get that, sure.
To support this question, it's one of my concerns within this budget because I do not have confidence in this budget. I know you guys are working hard, but the other line expenses throughout are, most people can accept costs and accept certain things, but they want explanations. So I would ask the governing body and the executive or the finance to start explaining that because I think it's a little bit easier for us to absorb if we're getting taxed.
I can comment on the community center other. Approximately a third of that budget goes to transportation for the senior citizens. That's a contract we have with Monmouth County.
But I think that's palatable when you're.
Years ago, it used to cost us $8 a trip when everything was subsidized from the top. Those subsidies are gone, and now it costs us, I think, around $8,000 a year to provide that transportation for the seniors. That's a third of that operating budget.
So a couple follow-ups. I mean, is that something that can be made publicly available? Is there like a second level deeper on some of this?
Like a
that
drill
can be
down,
available?
basically.
Yeah, I mean, not to get nickel and dime.
It's okay. It's your right to know. You're paying the bill.
Sure.
So we can make that publicly available?
Yes.
You can fill out an open request or something.
Excuse me?
Well, we can fill out an open request for information. Copies.
Per line item or for the whole budget?
That's not publicly available. That's making a
Yeah.
request. I'm talking about maybe putting it on the website or putting it as an addendum to the budget.
Let's make the other more available as we can without throwing out over request.
I mean, I'll ask, well, let's eliminate the word other. Let's start itemizing that detail out. Yes, there's more pages in the report, but we need to explain everything we're spending across the board, especially for someone on this side of the bench that has to vote on this budget. And I have to be able to look at my constituents in the eyes and say, yeah, we're having a tax increase, but this is why or why not.
And that's what we try to do.
And everything I'm seeing right now, there has been no budget cuts. There has been no tightening of the belts across the boards. And here we're talking about spending more money in the building department, which we're going through a renaissance. I just cursory review it. I know where we can take money from one point to give to another. Not to lessen the taxes, but get better services to our community.
We did it, but they say.
Just to close this one out.
Yeah.
So are we making it publicly available via the website or do I have to fill out an open request?
No, I don't want anyone to have to fill out that request. Make them available. Next look at your comments.
So other line items will be made publicly available.
Yeah, I can't guarantee they're going to be on the website
By request.
tomorrow, but you let me know what you want, and we'll get
How
it.
fair enough if you send an email?
All of them, right?
All of them.
I have no problem with that either, but let's just put it out there.
So again, not tomorrow, but they're going to be available via some publicly accessible link
Pat, could we
on
break
the
them out by
website.
next week?
Yeah.
We'll break them out by next week, sir.
So anyone who makes a request should send a
They don't need a
request to
request.
you.
Send
Tim,
it to
Tim,
me.
Tim Hill,
No over request.
No
No
over
offers.
request.
and by a week from today?
Sure.
Okay. a week
So again, we still have to make a request.
Really?
And then,
No.
No,
that's what Tara just
So
said.
that's what I'm trying
You're
to
trying to figure
say
that
I'm
now.
trying to
Or
say,
should
can
it
we
be
make these
just that
publicly
every-
open
Do you want
on
to just
the
leave
website?
copies and have them available at the Borough Hall? You
There you
come.
go, want to do that?
Yeah, let's do that. It'll be easier for
Just try to make
everyone.
it easier. We don't want to bother Tim.
No.
Yeah, no,
And the drill down basically available at Borough Hall.
Just have it available,
And our
okay?
goal is to have it by Wednesday.
Save paper and just link it onto the website. You have the other part of the budget.
Okay, but not everybody goes to the website. I don't want to defer
We
that,
have it
but
at
some
Borough Hall,
people
too,
do
because a lot of our
want to
seniors
grab
go
it.
to the
So
website.
we're not gonna have 500 copies.
Yeah, we're
We'll
going to
have
be
several copies
conservative.
available,
Okay.
And if we can get it up on the
we'll make
website.
more copies, okay?
Perfect. I do have one follow-up, other question, just curiosity again. Last year, if I understood correctly, I think we had like a Clean Communities grant, chapter 159, for $10,888. Did I understand that right? That was NJ Clean Communities?
Yes, it was.
Did we not get that in 2015? Or
The numbers were just released, and I think we got 13,395.
When this was printed, we didn't have the numbers.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. Okay.
That's why there's always a process of, hey, this is it, now we're gonna add this, try to take this,
That's
clarify
all.
that.
Thanks, guys.
No problem, who's next? Carla, actually, you're
I
next.
just wanted to say, where it said community center or other, because you do so much with so little money, and people are always complaining that there's not enough for the kids to do. Well, some of us know that that money goes towards the senior programs, and the children's programs, and the after-school programs, and the kids on the booth programs that you always speak of at the council meetings, since people aren't always at the council meetings. Maybe just, categorize it as children's or whatever, senior
We
programs.
have it broken out in the line the way that it's written. I'm not going to micromanage each line on that. On
No,
top
that's
of
what I'm saying, to try to
But you
avoid
can
that.
definitely
because
drill down to other.
You do so much with that.
But there's no reason not to, I will drill down if you
Nope.
Name
Thank
and
you.
address, please.
Speaking on this same subject.
Name and address, I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gert
That's okay.
Softman, 157 Bay. Speaking on this same subject with the other, this is a matter of an Excel spreadsheet and turn it sideways
Agreed.
and give us more detail. I don't want to have to go somewhere and look up. When I see something presented, I want to see all the numbers. And yes, there's a lot of things that fall under other. I've dealt with that. I want to see it broken out because then we can say, ooh, we're spending this on other on this, and we could put it here. We're
Well, you might agree with every one, as you know.
And
You might agree with every
know
single one.
it. So I really want to see the detail.
We'll have that for you.
Robin Thompson, 8 Bay Street. Is there an overall inventory of what the town has as far as equipment, maintenance records, how often a piece of equipment is used, so we maybe have things that we aren't using that we can get out of the inventory?
We definitely have inventory of
We
vehicles.
do have an
and things like that.
inventory of vehicles.
And do we have the maintenance?
We have a shared service with the Borough of Atlantic Highlands on the maintenance of the vehicles.
And the records would be accessible to the public?
I don't know exactly what record you're referring to.
Just the general maintenance, use.
Use.
In other words,
I could get you maintenance records, and I could attribute a man to a piece of equipment. But do we document that every day? No, we don't.
You don't document where your equipment is used and who's using it and how often it's being taken out. You don't put down perhaps the oil change and the generators that are sitting
That
out
we
in
have.
the
Yeah,
parking lot.
That the maintenance we do.
Right.
But
Well,
do
that's
I?
equipment. That's what I'm
Okay.
asking about. Anything
I
that the
understand.
Highlands owns,
We do have that.
and that would be accessible to the public. And where would I get that information?
That you would have to over.
Right, you probably have
Yeah, that would-
There's
that would
also
be on the spreadsheet.
There's VIN numbers.
An
involved,
opinion
things
upon
like-
VIN number. There's certain information that would have to be redacted. We would not be giving out specific information on certain
I don't need
vehicles.
the VIN number, but I need.
But that's the-
I'm looking for just an accountability of the equipment that we have, the vehicles that we have. Are we using them? Are we using them wisely? Are we maintaining them properly?
We don't have a document that's going to state that.
So, to understand your question, you're asking, are we managing our equipment correctly and fiscally
Yeah,
responsibly?
that's nice. That's a nice way of putting it. Yes.
as a councilman,
How do I know as a taxpayer?
as a taxpayer or as a councilman, I think we can tighten the belt on that. And that's stuff across the board. We, as a council, I'm asking, we need to tighten the belt on the use of vehicles for personal use versus town use. Are assets being used correctly? If they're sitting
Are
there
we ready
being
for the next
dormant,
emergency
yeah. So
and stuff
that's
that's sitting
something
there
we need
requiring
to
a lot
look
of
at.
flat tires?
Absolutely.
Those vehicles that you're referring to have a type of tire that's inflatable. So I do understand what you're saying, but it's not all as it appears.
Are the generators started occasionally?
Yes, they are.
Exercise?
Excuse me, your name?
Name and address?
8 Bay Street, Thompson,
Your first name?
Gavin,
I'm sorry?
Gavin.
Yes, they are, sir. Budget questions? Yes, sir.
A follow-up to her question. My name is Carl Rodriguez. Doesn't the town have a log-out sheet for every vehicle, in and out?
Do we have a
Mileage?
line sheet?
No, I have 3 individuals in Public Works.
I'm sure
I
they
can
will.
tell you, we see the vehicles going in and out. We can micromanage that to a bigger degree if we need to. I don't feel that the Public Works vehicles are an issue in terms of use. With 3 guys and maybe 8 pieces of equipment, there's no possible way that I have 8 pieces of equipment out there every day. We have backhoes, we have front-end loaders, we have specific equipment that is needed for particular jobs,
Yeah, but
and it's not out there every day.
yeah, but when the vehicle is taken out, signed out, driver, and when it comes back in.
Now, well, obviously not, but that's another
Yeah, but it
issue.
can affect your insurance. If you only use the machine.
First aid and fire has
for a
one, sir.
small period of time, you can get a discount elsewhere. Yeah.
What's that? Guys, we can't have conversations, sorry.
Yeah,
In
sure.
between, we don't who's talking and on the record, but first aid and fire department have them, sir. First aid vehicles and fire department have logs of coming and going. For obvious reasons, answering the call.
Yeah, I'm sure the police do.
I won't say I'm sure, but I would assume that they do, yes, sir, for legal reasons and everything.
Yeah, that's why I was just asking, how difficult it would be.
The whole thing, exactly, because they have to put in their numbers at some point too. Any other budget questions? Ms. Douglas?
Oh, because 330 Shore Drive. I see a lot of zeros here under other expenses, and I don't see any entries under the salaries or anything of that nature.
Temporary budget count? Is that the short one that we just approved? That's a temporary budget. That's a temporary budget you're looking at. That we just approved various. Synopsis.
Okay. What about the garbage trucks? Are you ever going to sell them? Or if they're not already?
No, they are used, obviously quite.
We only need one for herself over here to have
No.
a clam fest and all that.
That's,
But,
is that a budget question?
Could take on the back, so I guess.
I'll phrase it a budget question.
What do you
Again,
need for bulk, I know?
inventory of equipment. We need to have a massive amount of equipment on our inventory that we have to pay insurance on. So if we eliminate equipment that we don't have to have, maybe our insurance.
Well, I guess that's the other question, right?
Yeah,
How much is our premium lowered if we eliminated X amount, or is it I assume we have a fleet insurance policy like we have at work, and it doesn't matter how many cars I have.
I know one garbage truck down there doesn't move. Do we have to have insurance on it? These are, I think, questions that every nickel and dime that we can save today adds up. And then I will ask, so everybody sees the OEM equipment. We have a lot of nice equipment there. Do we need to have 15 spotlights? And if not, are they insured? Do we insure them? Is that something we're cost? I believe we're in dire straits here fiscally. I think we're in denial that we're going to get more ratables in a timely manner. So we have no capital expenditures, only went up 3%. We have a sewer system, pipes that have failed. We have a stormwater management system that has failed. They're putting positions into play, but there's no budget in place for that. That's my concern, and I'm on the sewer authority. But again, we have to tighten up our belts across the boards, all departments. We're spending money, not reallocating.
If I can just speak to the OEM vehicles, they are much needed in the town. We rescued over 100 people for Sandy. And you can shake your head. Those 100 people that we took out of their houses in those trucks, they keep them in this town forever. Seabright called for those trucks, Atlantic called for those trucks, and guess who had them?
I'm not debating. But I'm looking at the big picture, the SOP, hazard mitigation, the SOP from state OEM office stated, point blank, all operating procedures pre-Sandy, we thought was correct, post-Sandy, was not correct. Yes, the equipment's important, I'm not debating that. That's not at debate. But we can't, I didn't say that. I never said get rid of it. You want to go back to the audience? I did not say get rid of everything. I did not say,
To state my fact that I find the safety of my residents paramount. That's what I care about.
So do
What
I.
about the OEM vehicle
I think we all
driving?
do, obviously.
Okay.
That's not in there.
What was the question?
The OEM vehicle being taken to the Picatinny Arsenal every day and us paying for the fuel. I don't think that's right, and it's never been right.
I would agree with that.
When we had an emergency once before, he worked at Fort Monmouth, he got locked into Fort Monmouth, so we had no
Was
OEM
9/11, right?
official, right?
9/11? think it was
Might have
9/11.
been 9/11, yeah.
These are budget issues,
You
these are
know,
budget
so
questions.
why does he have to take the truck to work? It's not effective or efficient for him to take the truck to work if he can't get back in the emergency. And we never know whether he can get back or not. But by the meantime, do you get paid your gas to drive to work?
I do by my company, not by the bill.
Well, not by me.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Not by me. And I never got paid to drive my vehicle to work. And a lot of people, I'm sure here, people in here never
It's
get
their
paid
car, so.
to drive them. Yeah, it's their own car. But he should have a car too and use his car
Listen,
and come back to town and retrieve the OEM vehicle. Simple.
So can we put an action item to audit the usage of our maintenance and vehicles for insurance
and
purposes?
gas,
Just go to audit and repair and all that, the whole scope, yeah, I would.
Well, there should be full accountability.
as a kid, we gotta stay in order. I let everybody talk, we gotta stay in order. So, in the past, we have ordered the gas, and it was an ongoing situation, and obviously we will revisit that again. And that's to the point where who, what, where, when, what vehicle, and who signed, and how many miles since the last one. And it's easier now because we use gas stations rather than the past we had our own pump. Okay?
And what about the idea of the insurance? Are we insuring vehicles?
Yeah, well, I think that's what we asked.
Oh,
Are we gonna
okay.
go, like,
Yeah.
we have 5,000 cars in my company. If you go down to 2,000, you don't save any money. It's a blanket
Yeah, it's
policy.
just a question.
I'm sure they base it on, obviously you have to have certain criteria in your driving record. You can't hire people that have X amount of points, da, 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 da. It's probably similar, but, we'll find that if we do gain anything by losing X amount of vehicles.
And that was my question about our OEM equipment. It's
Meaning trucks?
all of it. I mean, it's got to be insured. It should be
I would agree
insured,
with you.
hopefully. And do we need to have an arsenal that big, or can we say, hey, Seabright or Atlantic Highlands, because we did rescue or use our vehicles, you contribute to the bottom line to maintain this equipment and financially be responsible to that equipment in your time. Okay?
But
That's
we're
it.
all the same kind of need.
Okay, and that's why the SOP, again, has a mitigation plan. You don't have alliances with your neighbors. That's why you have alliances with towns in Pennsylvania. So when Pennsylvania gets slammed on, we can financially help them with vehicles and vice versa. So, again, I strongly don't believe we need as many equipment as we have, because the state of emergency now is controlled by the state. And if they have an arsenal of equipment that they can forward it to us in our time of need, we're not a healthy, financially healthy community. And the community has seen this equipment sitting there. They want to know, make sure it's insured correctly, maintained correctly, which I think it does.
I think it is too.
I think it is maintained. Some of the cost to that should be offset by our fellow communities that do use our equipment.
I will say one thing, having been there, on that Sunday before Sandy hit on Monday morning, the state surrendered to us in a conference call, basically saying, you are on your own. Do what you gotta do. All
100%.
restrictions are lifted. Dig out whatever you gotta dig out, dump it where you gotta dump it, and go.
Right.
And I was from the governor, and I was on the phone with him. You are on your own, go, protect your communities. So, obviously, that was a, hopefully, once in a lifetime event, but I get your point. Okay, any other questions? Sir?
Sean Collins, 141 Highland Avenue. One of the items on the budget is garbage and land.
He's
Besides.
Anyway, this is a
Landfill.
$70,000 increase from last year. That's correct. What's driving that?
Is that the landfill fees?
Landfill?
No, it was $199. Landfill last year was $199, and this year we had a budget of $200,000. Do you have any page reference or anything that you can say?
I just saw it online. I'm sorry. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
It's somewhere from 160 up to 240, the entire budget, that line item.
See, we have this here. So I have, yeah.
I don't know what number he's referring to.
Yeah, so I don't know what number you're referring to, but on sheet 17, really our dumping fees basically were $199 in 2014 is what was budgeted, and in 2015 we budgeted $200,000. So it was pretty much in line. We didn't see any spike in garbage costs.
Okay, and on that note, though,
Yeah.
we talked earlier about reduction, a 10% reduction. Garbage pickup is twice a week. Is it really needed in this small town? I mean, is it?
Well,
do we look at reducing costs by having a
We
single
tried it.
pickup?
We did go back to one in the off season.
Yeah.
We had a lot of complaints.
Sorry?
We had a lot of complaints. When I set up here the last time, people didn't want to lose.
What are
that
the
service.
numbers if we go back to one? What are the savings that you can bring back to town? Say, hey,
We would have to renegotiate the contract with the vendor, if that.
But I may say garbage disposal, if you pick it up once a week or twice a week, you're still producing garbage in a home. So it's I don't know if there's a saving in this line item.
The landfill fees, but I'm just the labor center associated with the third.
Maybe the dollar amount would be less for the contract. We went down that road about 5 years ago, I think it was, for the off season. In other words, obviously after Labor Day, and a lot of people.
We started a new contract with the once a week in the winter.
And we had a big out. You were sitting here. We had a big outcry about that. Put that name and address, please.
To go to what Carl was saying before, many of our vehicles have GPS in them
No, they do not.
that we can track. A lot of municipalities now, to control their costs of their vehicles, have installed GPS in all their vehicles, and they know exactly where these vehicles are going, when they're leaving town, when they're not leaving town, who's driving them, and what they're doing. So maybe that's the easiest way to monitor some of these expenses and where these vehicles are going and whether they're being used or not.
There is an upfront cost involved in all that too. We do that in my company vehicles at work, and you can go online and you can put the mouse over there. Tells you how long it's sitting there, how fast it's going, if it's going.
And
But there is a cost associated with that.
Because there's been a lot of incidents where they're being abused. So to avoid the abuse, maybe just installing a GPS in all these vehicles will solve some of these problems, and it will actually make people stop using them for the things that they're not supposed to use them for.
Again, I don't disagree with you saying that there is a couple $100 per unit cost.
But if it's saving us thousands,
That's projection. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just letting everybody know. Name and address.
I'm worried about street. A lot of the budget is debt servicing, and I'm just wondering if there's any way to reduce the costs of that, or to change the way that that's scheduled.
I'll see to my CFO.
Sure, and there is. Tonight, part of my report, we're refunding 2 existing bond ordinances, which is going to produce a $153,000 savings. So the answer is that we do look at our debt. If there's any chance of refunding it or refinancing it, we do that. It's actually on for tonight. June 15th is when it's going in front of local finance board for approval. We do look at that. And actually, our goal is to try to get the debt down. And you get it down by paying it down or refinancing it.
That answer your question? I'm sorry. Okay. Name and address.
Carl Rodriguez, 164 London Avenue, on the line item of condominium services. How do we go about getting an agreement with the town?
I've already spoke to you, sir. I'm setting up a meeting with the CFO, and we will be getting back to you. And we're going to work out the similar agreements that we have on file.
Okay.
We have spoken, correct?
Yes, we have.
Okay,
I'm just wondering how that's going.
Time.
Thank you.
So we'll probably we'll mirror other ones we have in town. Fair enough? Mr.
Dan Shields, 55 and 56 Shrewsbury Avenue. It's known to all that I'm coming to the planning board next week to be heard about my bar. But there's there's a planning board member that's been going after me personally. His name is Chris Francie. He's been on social media announcing when my hearing's coming up.
I don't want to not hear you, but is this to do with the budget?
Pardon me?
Is this to do with the budget?
Okay,
I'll let you talk later.
I thought that was
over.
over.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just want to get it out of the line, but it's not fair, and I think you should step down.
We'll
Thank you.
readdress that by the end of the meeting. Anyone else have a budget?
Mr. Peterson, 17 Bay Street. Two things. One, in speaking about the vehicles, we spoke for the last year about getting a list together of vehicles that can be sold, and we have a list, but we haven't done anything. When are we actually going to make that an actionable item and actually have that done? And I understand it's not going to solve our budget problems, but the longer that we prolong anything that can help the budget, the longer that there's going to be issues. So I'm leaving that to Mr. Hill.
I'm hoping to have that up on the auction site by June. And the 3 vehicles that we're probably going to try to go on auction happen to be the 2 fire vehicles, the older vehicles, because we feel there's some type of interest. And then there's the old BMW that was confiscated through the police department. We've gotten official word that that can be released as well. The other vehicles will probably, to be honest with you, they're just scrap.
Okay, so we'll look for that in June. And secondarily, as far as the budget, is the $80,000 or the $80,000 plus that we're paying for the community center, that's not covered by FEMA, so I think we got a bit of $800,000, of which we're going to have to pay 10% of. That's not part of this budget, correct?
The 800,000 was inclusive of if we were raising the building. That number is still a moving target.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's not what was written in, or how it was explained by Tina. Secondarily, what other things that are not in the budget that we're going to have to pay for? For example, we're going to be running out of time on the trailers beginning reimbursed. So how much money is going to be added either to this budget or to next year's budget for either rentals for the trailers moving forward or some type of purchase? Or how much is that going to increase everything?
Well, I would say for this year, I don't foresee any issues that may come up this year that would impact the budget that you're holding in your hand there. But for next year, if there's any expenses that is not covered by FEMA or things that we plan on doing here as a governing body, it could have an impact on the budget. So, I mean, that's a pretty vague question, and it's a pretty vague answer. So,
well, then I suggest that we push back on the. I think 10% is pretty minimal across the board that we ask for, and we didn't really get a solid 10% across the board cut. I think we need to push back on departmentally and kind of hold their feet to the fire, saying we're hurting very badly as a town. You know, we had 9.5% last year. This year we're probably looking at 4.5%, 5%. Next year,
2%.
for this hits.
Yeah, I mean, they're on the 20%, not 4 or 5.
I'm sorry, what's that?
2%.
2%? I'm sorry, I thought it was higher that based on.
2%.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's 2%.
2%.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we figured.
164 Linden. I think that's a touchstone for everybody here. Could you just clarify 2%, 4.5%? I mean, is there any way that we can project with this budget what our property taxes are going to be looking like?
Sure. Actually, there's a page in the budget showing that.
Okay.
Here's
is it in this document that we all have here?
I'm normally really exact on this, but we can't be in your town because our assessed values are not confirmed yet. So whatever the budget is, you divide it over your assessed values. So we don't have the assessed values yet. And the reason why we don't have it is because we have pluses and minuses with tax appeals going on now.
Right.
But right now, as it sits, it's at 2%. It's about a $54 increase to the average homeowner, okay? But the big picture here is that we applied for $1.1 million of a state grant, and that's inserted in this budget, hopefully, so we don't have to use our surplus, so we hopefully will hold that tax rate down. And actually, I was talking to the state today about that application, and we're still in the running. It still looks good. And we're hoping that, and that's why there's no action on this budget tonight, because we're waiting for the state to come back and give us an answer on how much they're going to give us.
Do you know when we'll find that out?
In June.
June.
Yeah.
Okay.
$54
Yeah.
A year.
That's it, not a month, a year.
No, a year per
An
month.
entire year.
$54.
Yes.
If they stay budget, right?
Well, that's it, that's what it is right now. So if it
We
was
approve
4%,
this,
would I be right to say it would be like $100?
If it was, but it's not.
Yeah, I think so.
So based on what the average is, so $54 based on what's the average tax bill? That was on.
I know the average home is $228,000. That's the average home in town.
Or the average home.
Now, I'm gonna let Ken go next. Now, we talked about this at the finance committee. What was our total town ratables in millions of dollars before Sandy?
Before Sandy, we're at $606 million was the valuation of the town.
And what is it today?
And today we're looking at 578, which is 4.6% below the hurricane level. The magic number is 5, anything below 5. And we were at 5% in 2013, 5.9% down in 2014. So right now we're 4.6% down. So, but the answer to your question is 578 million today.
Okay. So significant loss, obviously.
Yes.
Kim, did you
Kim
name it?
Scorpio, 315 F Shore Drive. I'm looking at the budget, and when you compare last year's budgeted amount to be collected by tax, it was $6.591 million.
Yeah.
2015 anticipated is $6.940 million. That's an increase of $348,671. That's a 5.3% increase in tax dollars. And I understand that the moving target is our ratables,
Yeah.
but that's where we're getting the 5% increase from. You
That's
want 5% more tax dollars.
Okay.
Okay? I just want to clarify so that you understand where we're coming from
Yeah.
and where that number came from. I want to know where the $7,000 decrease is because we don't have a May election this year. Let me back up a little bit so you know where I'm coming from. Last year, Steve Pfeffer dropped a 9.5% tax increase on us and listed pretty clearly why. Unfortunately, the video's hard to hear, the detail isn't in the minutes of the meeting, but based on my notes, something like $300,000 was due to Sandy, $7,000 from a May election, and I want to say something like $18,000 for building department software. I don't see a decrease from the May election, and I don't see a decrease in the building department software. And if you could tell me what line items those are in.
Well, I
and why
believe the
they're
election was in the municipal clerk's budget.
Right, and I believe that was reduced.
I'm sorry?
I believe that was reduced.
Yeah, so the clerk's budget here. Administration, Central Service, Borough Council, Borough Clerk. So actually, Kim, just following up on what you're saying, so the budget last year was $38,600, and this year in 2015 it's listed at $36,050. So it did come down about $2,500, not the full $7,000 that you're saying. That's something we can look at. All I know is that the clerk, as well as all departments, submitted their budgets and we reviewed them. So sometimes there's not a dollar for dollar decrease. There could be other things impacting that. But you're right that it's not a full $7,000 reduction.
I would hope that, especially since some people were so adamant that we change the election back to November, that we find a way to get that full $7,000 cost savings. Same with the building department software. My understanding is that they need extra money this year because of computer maintenance. I'd like a little bit more detail on that. Is it for data entry? Is it for reporting? If I bought a $20,000 car last year and I had to pay another $20,000 to maintain it, I might question that $20,000 purchase.
I agree, Kim.
And find a different car to buy.
From what I remember in the conversations, not all of it, but there was a huge increase in data entry because we're now putting together all the things that we've had, your landlord registration, all the things that were never together on one file. But again, that should be a start.
Would that not end up in payroll? Because you have to pay the person?
Yeah, but I think that you have to put it listed as $1 and cents that you didn't spend last year. And there's categories that, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not an expert. I have to go into things that sometimes don't make any sense to me.
When the building department doesn't make a recommendation on something else that they'd like to see in that program that they might not have thought of, and that is happening, that's where that cost comes in. So it's not a matter of the person sitting there entering the data, it's creating the software to accommodate what the building department is
So
requesting.
it's additional modules for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that also should be an end game, obviously.
Right. Yeah, it's not open. We haven't given them carte blanche to do that, but we understand as we're progressing through Sandy, there's certain things pre-Sandy, when all this was talked about, that they didn't even really think of, that now needs to be in that system.
As for insurance for vehicles that we're going to dispose of, I'm assuming some of them aren't even insured, like the BMW. But
now the BMW, I believe.
I think they're all covered under a fleet policy.
Okay.
They are other businesses.
But now, where I work, we may not have a fleet policy. We might have something different, but we have well over 20 vehicles. And I know for a fact that when we dispose of a car, we generally sell it or trade it in. I get a credit from the insurance company for that vehicle, and then I get a new bill for the new vehicle.
I think you need a minimum of 50, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so
we'll look into. I'll fully explore that and vet that out with the insurance company. If there's any savings that we can have by doing away with equipment, we're certainly going to take advantage of it.
And maybe switch to a different type of policy if we can. Just explore it just to see. And the gentleman asked earlier in this conversation about the community center, and I just want to say that there has been an increase. Let me just make sure my paper reference right. In 2013, $16,000 was spent. Last year, spent almost $19,000, and we're budgeting $22,500. So while the budget may be the same year to year, I really think it needs to be back down, and I really think we need to find some cost savings. Which leads me to my next question, and I promise I'm almost done. We're 5 months into the year now, four full months. By the time this budget gets adopted, we'll have half the year over. We've had some staffing vacancies. We may have had some other cost savings. Is there any way to put that savings into this budget?
I'll have to defer to Pat on that.
It might not be a lot, but if Nancy O'Neill's position's been vacant for a little while, and the one rec program coordinator, I'm sorry, I don't know her official title. If that position's been vacant, any others, and maybe the police department or administration, if there's any payroll that we budgeted for that has not been spent yet because of vacancies, can we back the budget down?
The budget can be adjusted until before adoption. The
So
only thing is
are going to take the second meeting in June?
Yeah, it just becomes a moving target all the time. Because you have a number of budgets, let's talk about the community center for a second there. So that had a 10% reduction. In 2014, we had a $25,000 budget. This year, we had a $22,500 budget. Now that's a 10% reduction there. And I know, Kim, that you're comparing what was expended in 2014. And you're right with your numbers, because we sat down and spoke and went over great detail in this thing, But that department did come forward with a reduction to 10%. Now, the only thing is, because you have a number in the budget, doesn't mean you're going to spend it. It means it's your spending plan. It's something that the department needs, things that they can operate in, and there's things that they may want to do this year that they didn't do last year, but they did comply, and they did try to come in with their reduction. And if I may just answer you said that the taxes went up 5%. The line item amount to be raised by taxation went up 5%, but the impact to the homeowner is 2%. And why do I say that? It's because our values increased about $7 million over last year. So when the values grow, the taxes come down. So I'm not trying to mislead anyone, right? Just trying to explain. So Kim's right saying the amount to be raised by taxation went up 5%. I'm also right in saying your tax impact's only 2%.
Glad you're here. Not an accountant or CFO, so I'm glad you are.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other comments, questions, concerns? There's going to be more times to comment on this, I promise you that.
I just want to say...
Name and address for the record, ma'am.
62 Broadway Point Road. I just want to say if my taxes go up $54, I'd like to commend the Budget Committee for doing such a good job. That's pretty good.
Close public portion on that note. So, really, all we're doing is standing fast, right, Beth?
Just closing.
Okay, just closing public portion. Next
We're
up,
adding two resolutions.
we have two resolutions, guys.
Resolution R-15-109, whereas the borough is in need to retain a plan preparation consultant for the purposes of advising on the operations of the plan.
Anybody want to, Tim, you want to please?
Negotiations of the new lease and preparation of specifications for a new lease. And whereas these services are unique in nature and quality and qualify as an extraordinary unspecified service, which does not require public bidding. And whereas Fisheries Technology Associates, Inc. of Fort Collins, Colorado has experience in the field and the ability to provide such services, now therefore be resolved that the governing body approves an agreement with Fisheries Technology Associates, Fort Collins, Colorado, in an amount not to exceed $32,000 for the purposes of grant plan consultancy, subject to all legal requirements. Whereas the CFO has certified that the funds are available for these services.
Okay. Any questions from the table? We talked about this, obviously, for a long time now. Tim, you want to briefly let the audience know?
Yeah, we did go out for an RFP, as folks do recall, for the future operations of the plant facility. The RFP respondents that came back, one was not compliant in the format of which the RFP was returned. The other RFP that was received, the gentleman felt that it would be a conflict because he potentially wants to bid on the operations of the plant if it comes down to that. So with the RFP process not being successful to that degree, we can go through an extraordinary services type contract, and this consulting agency has done extensive work in all aspects of the fishery industry, including clamming, oysters, fish, and they meet the criteria of our RFP and are willing to do so. So this is all to get to the point of making a recommendation on going forward with the clam plant deporation facility whose lease expires in August.
So as a council, we've had in a town, obviously, the borough owns the building, the borough owns the equipment, and there's a group in there that's working in there, and then there's a management group. It's our goal, and I'll speak for me, everybody else can chime in if they want, but we've talked about this unanimously, I believe, is to make sure we get a long-term agreement. We keep as many current, local, especially, people that are working there, and that the, if you will, percentages of compensation go up for the person on the water, who I think should be paid the most percentage-wise. But I also think since we own the property, the building, and the equipment and everything next to it, we should probably be number 2, not 3. Just my opinion. We also have, Councilman Card and Councilman Redmond are the liaisons for us in conversations with both the Bayman and any other associated group that's in there.
Well, I just think it's a smart move because it's definitely uncharted territory for us. We don't have the experience or knowledge in fisheries, and we really want to maximize our dollar to help reduce the tax base and really make it something functional and usable. I mean, it's our heritage. This building's our heritage. It should reflect more of a community feeling rather than, a separate entity. So I think that's the goal. We do hope Ms. Ryan's working on an educational component to that building, putting some thoughts together on how we can really make it almost a little bit of a destination, but a working environment as well.
Which is one of the things the community brought up during the long-term recovery plan they'd like to see down there. So we're very aware of all those components. And to be very honest with you, I'm a big believer in, cutting costs and looking at the bottom line, but I'm also a big believer in earning more to offset your costs.
Yeah, no, they said, but on the other side of the coin, it's been a situation with the clammers, everybody's nervous, but it's most important that everybody understands, this governing body is in consensus that we have to put a contract that benefits everybody across the board equitably. And at this time, I'm willing to say it's not. It's not a good situation. Hopefully by this consulting firm, yes, it's a big number, but it's going to allow us to put this contract together so that whether it be a 5-year, 10-year, or 20-year lease, next time it comes up, we just say, hey, everybody sign a bill, off we go. We collect our revenue and everything's happy.
Okay, I'd like to add to that. In addition, the most important piece, obviously, is having the people maintain their jobs and make money, and for the town to make more money. But we want more people to come to Highlands, and we can do this by making this another site that people come to visit. Firstly, with schools. We have many, many schools. Almost every school in Monmouth County goes to the Twin Lakes as part of the school trip. What I want to do is have an educational facility and a tour and some giveaways, maybe a little gift shop where, okay, the schools all go to the Twin Lakes, then they come down to town, and they tour the clam plant because there's only, 2, 3 in the country. It's something unique. And then they stay and they spend money on food here in town. Then they'll go home and tell all their family about this wonderful town, and hopefully we'll all come back. It's a start. We want to market the town in addition to marketing the plants.
Can I just ask
Please.
a question? This is a contract for a consultant to help write the contract or to help advise on the contract? What is the
Well, none of
contract?
us that sit here are commercial fishermen or clammers, and I'll throw Mr. Redmond into that because it's just a fact. So this is a very unique site.
No, I understand that.
That's what
I'm asking with this particular contract.
This is for someone to come in and do an assessment.
Yes.
More so than just dollars and cents, to be clear. We've been talking about this for a long time, about an assessment of the clam beds. We don't want to over-farm, if you will. We want to make sure
So this is an assessment of the operation of the clam plant, the
Its
clam
potential.
beds, and the resource beds.
and anything else we may be able to put down there.
Okay.
And we do on the property next to it for expansion, meaning the borough.
Okay. And is this group going to be working in conjunction with other people in the town?
From my understanding,
They're going to be working as a consultant. They're going to be working directly through myself as the administrator, the individual council reps that are appointed, and we will be reaching out to those in the industry. But it's not going to be a free for all. Okay, it's going to be by very methodical information that they're looking for and how they're going to get to that process. So we want to make sure that we keep everything in context because, and as I did mention before, a lot of folks that want to respond to the RFP did disqualify themselves because they're concerned about maybe bidding on the operations in the end result. So we're going to be very careful not to provide or have perception of any conflicts through this process.
Okay, one of my concerns is, Tara, we spoke about a very large granting program that's available through the federal government that we need to try to come up with a committee to help write a grant proposal for that.
I'm sorry, Lori, I thought that when we spoke, you said that it was over. I
It
wanted
was
to
over
meet
for
with you
that
and
time period. It closed for that time period. It will reopen again this summer for a subsequent year.
Oh, okay, this is the first I'm hearing that.
Right.
Then we'll get that
Then
to our
I will meet with
We
you.
were too late,
We'll look at that to our
but we were too late at that time to do something like that, but we would
Okay,
be
we will.
eligible for something in the future.
We do have a grant writer on staff.
Grant writing people.
Okay, well,
We'll
this
put on
is
that.
something we should definitely target,
This
and we
we will.
can pull some other people in.
We will talk, thank you.
In conversations to add to that, the firm that's coming in is going to come in and tell us what our asset is. And, none of us are claimers. We don't know what we have. The contract was signed 10 years ago, and it's time to refill it, and we have to market it. It's an asset that, from my understanding, my research, we're the only bank that has natural plans like this, and we're not marketing it correctly. It's not being managed, in my opinion, it's not being managed correctly. And all we're trying to do is get a firm in here to help us understand what we're doing. We're not fixing brakes on the car here. This is something completely outside the scope.
No, I think it's
And
a great idea.
it's going to be a home run across for everybody.
I think it's part of doing our due diligence.
Just
Mr.
one
Francie?
quick question. August 15th is 3 months away. At this point, the scuttlebutt is that at the end of the contract, the licensed operator, if there's no continuation of the contract, he's taking his ball and going home. And I'm not sure whether there is a backup plan to operate the plant on a month-to-month basis.
I know of 2 others in town.
Okay.
I know of 2 others that have the license in town.
And all I'm saying is that's probably going to have to be an eventuality. You should plan for it sooner than later because.
I think that there's plans for multiple meetings with our liaisons at the council table and their representatives.
And that was a fair question. A lot of claimers like, I'm not going to be able to claim the next
I'm sorry?
day. A lot of claimers expressed that. The Baymen's Association, the Baymen, the guys that are actually claiming expressed that concern. And without hesitation, I said, let them vacate the building because with all due respect, the clams aren't going anywhere. And all the firms I've talked to on the Eastern Seaboard said they'll go in there very next day and be seamless
The
operation.
issue is not the claims, the issue is the licensed operating.
Not worried about
And
that.
is that
Not worried about
transparent?
an issue.
Okay.
There's a service out there.
I bring it up
that-
because I
Thank you.
discovered one.
Not an issue. It's been
Thought
thought about.
Sir?
This really isn't public portion.
We're talking about, we're talking about the voting for the, you know.
Yeah, no, but it's not, there's technically not a public hearing.
I'll let Dave, you go last, please.
Oh, I just got a couple questions. This firm from Colorado, right? Is that correct? They do that correct? Colorado?
Yes.
They know a lot about clamming?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fisheries technology.
Yes.
I find that hard to believe.
They're extremely qualified.
They know about the clam beds in Sandy Hook Bay and how to enforce how many clams come out and what's left of the resources. I'm not trying to be an ass or anything. I just want to know.
No, they've been vetted. They've been vetted.
What's that?
They've been vetted. They're qualified to give their professional opinion about this matter. And for someone that potentially wants to bid on it, I tread carefully here.
I am. I'm just curious.
They're gonna do their due diligence.
Are we gonna be able to answer these guys' questions and stuff? As far as
Probably not.
Probably not.
I'll go through the council and our liaisons.
It's just one firm? Consulting?
Yeah.
One
We're gonna
consulting.
shut it down now, guys, and vote on it because it's not public portion, but we put an RFP out, and like Mr. Hill said at the beginning, we had some reply and inquiries, and some were, a lot were not valid. Just from experience and everything. Okay?
Technically, there's only one.
Okay. And
The
then
first one was.
and one was qualified, correct? Well, then,
Okay, so.
okay, I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Nolan.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Carr. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan.
Yes, please.
There's another resolution, Resolution R-15-112, a resolution authorizing professional engineering services with regards to the community center storm damage repairs, and that would be for an amount not to exceed $10,000.
Okay. Gail, you want to speak to this briefly, what it is?
Basically, Mayor, this will carry us through the end of the reimbursement for the community center, from starting now, right to the end, through construction and getting the money back, the 90% return on the construction costs. We had a good conversation with the architect today. We're still on pace for plans to be done at the end of the month. Still advertising in June, still looking to award in June, still looking to complete construction in September with the October 1 opening.
And this team's meeting is this week, correct, the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Nolan. Second by Ms. Kane. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan.
Yes, please.
And then there was just one final additional resolution.
What number is that there?
It's going to be Resolution R-15-113. It's a resolution approving a settlement agreement with the PBA Local 48 regarding a grievance over Medicare costs.
Okay, Bruce, briefly, you want to speak to what that is?
Sure. There was a grievance filed. The PBA was seeking to get reimbursed for retirees paying Medicare premiums, both Part A and Part B, and any penalties as a result of the borough's use of state health benefits program and the requirement that they enroll in Medicare. We prepared for arbitration. We disagreed with their opinion, but as a result of the settlement negotiations and the borough switch to AmeriHealth, we were able to work out an agreement where the borough will end up saving money by reducing the costs, and the reimbursement will likely end because Medicare is not going to be a requirement under AmeriHealth. And we have an agreement that it will not exceed the amount that we were paying before per month.
Okay. Any questions or concerns from the table? Okay, I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Nolan.
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Ryan. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan.
Yes, please.
And that takes us on to ordinances on for introduction and setting of a public hearing date June 3rd, 2015 is ordinance 0-15-18, and ordinance amending sections 3-2.1, 3-2.2, and 3-2.4 of the Borough of Highlands Code, noise. Chief Blewett has asked this item be tabled because he would like further amendments.
Okay.
Further additional? I'll second that.
You offer that?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Edmund? I'm sorry, Ms. Ryan?
Sure.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, on for introduction and setting of a public hearing date for June 3rd is ordinance 0-15-19, an ordinance conforming Schedule A of Chapter 17-2 of the Borough Code to remove Block 43, Lot 1 from the Business Improvement District.
I'll offer the public hearing for the 3rd.
Offered by Mayor Nolan,
I'll second that.
seconded by Ms. Ryan. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
On for introduction and setting of a public hearing date for June 3rd is ordinance 0-15-20. An ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 21-89 of the Revised General Code of the Borough of Highlands entitled Code Zoning, modifying the requirements of the MH Mobile Home Resident District and allowing multifamily developments in the MH zone as a conditional use and establishing regulations pertaining thereto. This has to be sent to the planning board for recommendations.
Just for the record, it also amends 21-97.
And this is also then, if you go into the planning board on the 14th, this is for 6th, 7th, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay. I'll offer that.
Offered by Mayor Nolan.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Kane. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan.
Yes.
On for second reading and public hearing, at this time is ordinance 0-15-14, an ordinance amending Schedule A of Chapter 17-2 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of Highlands to amend the list of parcels within the within the Business Improvement District to account for the combining of certain parcels as a result of the redevelopment of Block 108, Lots 1 and 2.01, 2.02, and Lots 2.03, which is 440-470 Navasink Avenue.
Who's going to speak to this?
That's CBS and Quick Check.
Okay.
They were combined lots.
And what for the public, what does it do for us? What does it do?
It's just really just housekeeping. Doesn't change it.
So no dollars and cents are changing hands as far as up or down?
It shouldn't. I don't know how the bid assessment is actually calculated, but you're just combining lots that were combined through the development process. You're making ordinance combined with those lots.
Let's open the public hearing. Anyone have any questions on the bid ordinance for what Mr. Padula just said? Okay. I'll close the public hearing.
On for final reading and adoption is ordinance 0-15-14, an ordinance amending Schedule A of Chapter 17-2 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of Highlands to amend the list of parcels within the Business Improvement District to account for the combining of certain parcels as a result of redevelopment of Block 108, Lots 1, 2.01, and 2.02, and 2.03, which is 440-170 Navasink Avenue.
Any discussion at the table? Seeing none, I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Nolan.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Kane. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan.
Yes, please.
Takes us to committee reports. We'll start with finance.
Ms. Ryan's going to step out there. She'll be ready. Finance, Mr. Plaza, I know we kind of covered some of it tonight already, but
We sure did. Just one more comment on the budget. I know that the mayor and finance chair, Rebecca Kane, wanted real transparency on the budget. So we had 4 members of the public get involved on the budget committee, and I want to just personally thank them now. We had Kim Skorka, CPA, Melissa Peterson, ex-councilman Chris Francie, and Joe McFadden. And that exchange we had before was a pretty healthy exchange. We've had these meetings since the beginning of September, calling in department heads, going over each line item. So we really kind of went through some battles, some discussions, and trying to get a real good feel for the budget. So we appreciate the comments you made. I think it was very helpful. It was very engaging. So my thanks to you guys. It really helped. Refunding issue, I touched upon that real quick there. We're going to have a net present value savings of $153,000, which we spread over 20 years. So we won't really see that in any one given year, but it'll be spread out. You also mentioned that we applied for the CDBG Essential Grant, and we're hoping to collect $1.1 million and then some, if possible, if the state permits that. And the last thing is, I've been in touch with Carla here. Our online tax payments, we do now have a link that's prepared, and it's a viewing-only link. We're trying to put that onto our webpage. So once that hits there, and I expect it to get there in about a week, the tax payments will be open, and then it'll take about another week or two before people can actually start paying on there. So it's a pretty big step there. It's opening up all the tax records to the public and sewer payments, sewer records. and it's something we've been looking forward to and pretty excited about.
Okay, thank you, sir. Public safety, the chief is not here, and Mr. Redmond's on. So we're going to go down to administration.
Okay, Mayor, I'll try to keep it brief, even though Tara's up next. Department of Public Works, just a reminder.
Carla, she's always ready.
Brush pickup was scheduled through April, and we do have another brush pickup in May, according to your zone. So I think the guys really tried to keep up with that. In light of the days of the time, I think we're really aggressive of trying to get out, even if we sort of miss your zone. I do caution no contractors who kind of think that they can take carte blanche and dump all the debris from all their jobs in our streets. So we are keeping an eye on that. It's difficult to monitor, but we are noticing that there's no way some of this debris could all come from one yard. But that's a comment. The Public Works are also working on the flame plant lot. We do have some rough regrading and straightening up of the blocks there, so there's been a request. We're also going to look into installing a light on that pole. We've had a request from the neighborhood to provide some type of security lighting along that roadway that goes in between those units there. Construction office, new permits were 33. Permit updates were 6. Total fees for April was $21,962. From a zoning standpoint, there were 17 zoning approvals and 13 other actions taken. Floodplain had 15 approvals and 11 other actions, including compliance letters, substantiated damage letters, and elevation requirements. Code enforcement had 34 inspections. Of those 34, there were 6 violations noted as well. Upon revisit, there were 32 COs issued during the month, and 4 summonses were issued. Property maintenance end, there were 10 complaints responded to. 8 were resolved prior going any further. They were resolved before any further investigations were required, and there are 2 outstanding. 4 summonses were issued, and I understand there was a summons against a deceased property owner, unfortunately, that was dismissed and will now have to be transferred probably to the new property owner. So we're trying to keep up with those things as well. Fire department responded to 9 calls in April. The members were trained on building construction. Actually, residents, I think, along Shrewsbury Avenue had allowed the fire department members to walk through the house, trying to get a feel for new construction of elevation and what it takes and what the firefighters and the volunteers are going to be faced with going forward. God forbid we do have incidents along the way. So there's a lot more that goes into the rebuilding of the community that even the first aid and the emergency folks are very much want to be aware of. They had 9 calls, like I said, and they did respond to 3 mutual aid out of town to Atlantic Highlands and Rumson for structure fires. They did have a blood drive that was held on April 28th at the firehouse, and Marine 17 is in service for the summer season. First aid did respond, and I know they were going to try to give us a quarterly. I think things have changed, but they had 26 calls answered and 96 man-hours put in for the month of April. They are including fundraising efforts, and part of what they can do is if they offer standby assistance with events or folks that may need that type of assistance, they can raise funds that way for the local first aid squad. Recreation department, I'm just going to touch on the highlight of the Kids on the Move program. Does run through June 10th, and they wanted me to highlight Summer Kid Fest program will be held here at the Highlands Elementary School from July 6th to August 14th. We're asking that registration be done by June 19th if at all possible, so folks have about a month to register for that program. Administration, we are continuing to work with the professionals. We're in constant contact with the state OEM, FEMA reps. We met with our flood insurance folks this week, and I think we got some good news, but the costs keep going up and down, and as anyone who's involved with flood insurance, you understand that that even still seems to be a moving target. But I think we got better news than we heard the last time about flood insurance for some of our facilities. Contact also was made to me directly, Mayor and Council. I want to let you know. Contact by a resident with regards to the Doors of Dublin. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of the Doors of Dublin project. It's something we may want to, I can't comment, but the resident was very enthusiastic about encouraging residents perhaps to paint their front doors in not contrasting, but vivid colors that match their homes. Now, where government gets involved in that, I don't want to say, but I think it was a very interesting concept. look it up, Doors of Dublin, and she may be coming back to do a presentation at the next meeting. Interesting. I don't know where the government gets involved in monitoring that, but I think it's a pretty interesting concept. If you have a plain white front door, perhaps a little brighter color, in the opinion of this individual, it could also make it a destination place. People may come to see our brightly colored doors. When I asked if you're going to restrict the colors, she said, no, you can't do that. So.
Well, I will say that there are posters of
Right,
the doors.
but look at the posters. It's pretty. Well, design standards. I agree. We're going to have to look at it.
You would be in May.
Well, we're going to look at design standards, and that is something we've got to be concerned with. But it's an idea that we need to further investigate. Also, the tilt-up project that the Borough Council had endorsed to potentially move forward. The tilt-up project would like to replace and enhance a gazebo on the Snug Harbor Beach. They have a design that's not, very large. It's a little bit bigger than the structure that would be there, but it's more designed in an architectural fashion. And although not a Sandy memorial, because some people were kind of not misled by that, but it was the idea that they wanted to come in to do something for the community as a we're rebuilding. And this structure, there's, like I said, they're still in the design phase, but they'd like to offer that to the community at no cost. So we're going to continue to push forward. They have some interesting concepts. If you don't know anything about tilt-up construction, because I don't, it's something about lifting wall and the way that cement is built, but it's very sound construction from what we understand, and it's durable. And it's, again, this effort was brought on by Ms. Kane, and I appreciate the opportunity to look at that further. Two other things, Mayor. The contact by St. Bernard's Project, who is in town doing various rebuilding and helping Seabright, they'd like to potentially hold a fundraising concert in late August in the community. They've been in touch with me. I tried to give them some guidance as to what they're going to need. So once that details are finalized, they'll be coming forward. And also the Highlands Mindful Health and Fitness Festival that's potentially scheduled for September. The details for that is being finalized as well. Both of those events will require formal borough approval and probably multi-jurisdictional approval as well. And that's my report, Mayor.
Board of Education.
This school that we're in, Highlands Elementary School, has received enough applications for first graders that they are actually going to have 2 classes next year. So I think it's a good thing that people are coming back and they're returning, having more people moving in. Yes, we've had 1 class for a number of years. Other than that, there is a plant sale being run by the PTO, which is being headed by Nancy Burton for a while now. The plant sale is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Right out here, you may have seen some of the plants when you came in. Do not touch them.
Let's put money down.
Also, Nancy's running a PTO fundraiser for this school, and the money will eventually go to start a performing arts class department, something like that, in this school.
What is she actually doing for the fundraiser?
She is selling tickets, 50/50s, and the bid facilitated this. Thank you, Carla. The Highlands Business Partnership facilitated it by lending their license. It's $5 a ticket. You can contact Nancy, you can contact the school, you can talk to me. Henry Hudson Regional School is also running a great raffle that will benefit their school, and that is $20 a ticket to bid on 40 tickets to C Street. And usually when you buy the book from C Street, you have only a certain amount of time to use them, and they can only be used by 1 person. In this case, they're good for a year, and you can give them all away.
There was something
Doesn't
other
have to be a-
than
right, yeah. So so if anybody's interested, again, you can call the school, you can call Rosemary Ryan, you can talk to me. Okay? Good, thank you.
Highlands Business Partnership, Carla?
Just for the record, I want to say we didn't lend our license.
Oh, I'm so sorry, that's what I was told.
You charge the fee?
We're just sponsoring the raffle.
Oh, you're sponsoring it, okay, that's what I was told. I'm so sorry, Carla.
The
report's not in here. Do you want to do it or do you want me to read it?
You're up next, so go ahead.
Okay. Under marketing and events, the 15th annual Seaport Craft Show is going to take place rain or shine May 24th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Huddy Park. The show is juried, and they only accept handmade merchandise and local art. They have 30 crafters to date. They've also invited local artists via the Art Council to participate at a discounted fee. They have distributed approximately 2,500 visitor bags at the Great Clydeboro Bike Tour. The third annual Taste of Highlands will take place on June 27th from 12 to 5. The tickets are $40 and they're available online. And all proceeds are going to benefit the Veterans Park Improvement Project that's just recently got underway again. There was a ribbon cutting on April 30th to welcome a new business, Logo Wear Pros, at 1 Bay Avenue. Members of the council, HPP, and the community celebrated Tess and Brian, who are also residents of Highlands. Their unique shop is worth a visit. Another ribbon cutting is scheduled for May 15th for Steve Solo. How do you say that? Okay. I don't want to say wrong. Custom shirts at 205 Bay Ave at 6:30. And they'll be having an open house that day.
That's next Friday, right?
Yes. Okay. The Highlands Business Partnership has donated 20 bicycle helmets to the Highlands Elementary School to go along with the bicycles that were gifted to them from the other organization. HBP will donate a portion of our Foodtown barter agreement to the Explorers Learning for Life program for their spaghetti dinner. That is on May 16th. I'm not sure what time it's at. I know it's 6 o'clock. 6:30. Okay. The boys have worked hard in planning their event and also receiving assistance from the Highlands Fire Department for the dinner. Under visual improvements, they've extended the deadline for their statement of qualifications for the Mural Hill project for an additional 2 weeks. They've received 3 applications from muralists. The mural committee has met with all 3 artists and interviewed them. They've selected Jim Kovic as their muralist. The mural will highlight our community assets and tourist attractions. We hope to have the mural complete in 4 weeks' time, weather permitting. A contractor has been secured to power wash and prime the wall and repair the 2 cracks. Frank Rain will be doing landscaping on the hill. We are meeting with him to discuss a plan. He'll also be cleaning and planting soil around the Doughboy Monument and Bridge this week at the request of the Garden Club president. They need assistance and have lost many members of the Garden Club, so we're desperately seeking volunteers to help with any of the containers. The Garden Club will plant and maintain the flowers around the Doughboy up by the bridge. Economic development. I don't want to miss anything, so. Veterans Park Boardwalk. 40 yards of beach sand was delivered on April 30th to the boardwalk site. Barry Heffernan of Tri-Bar will provide equipment and manpower needed to complete this phase of the boardwalk project. We have his insurance on file forwarded to the borough. The trek boards are paid for and will be delivered this week. The hardware list received from Tri-Bar totals $2,700. We spoke to the manager at Home Depot for a possible donation. He requested we submit a summary of the report for corporate brand consideration. If it's not donated, he will give us a substantial discount. We will purchase. The deck railings will be purchased from the same company as the black fence and will be installed by Bobby Harold and the fence guys. And finally, the Robin Hood grant, as of today, 23 projects have been completed, 2 homes in progress, we're waiting for concrete, and weather permits, the second has begun and will be completed in the next few weeks. We'll be closing out the program and will submit the final report to Robin Hood as required.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Next item is shared services. We've had multiple meetings now with one of our neighbors to the south, Seabright. And the last meeting, Rebecca attended with Mr. Redmond. Want to give a synopsis of that?
Sure. Yes, we met with Councilman from Seabright, I believe, and their Department of Public Works
DPW
supervisor. There was some real potential for potential of a shared facility for DPW. So there's a lot of concepts on the table. We're trying to vet everything out. We may be operating out of one facility and gaining manpower on the end. I guess the best way to explain it is sometimes what we lack, they have, and what they lack, we have. It's the best way to, Seabright doesn't always have everything better because they're coming to the table to say, hey, guys, you have something better than we have, and vice versa. So we're kind of having a lot of different discussions. It was definitely a positive discussion. We're going to be meeting every 2 weeks, myself, Mr. Redmond. If the mayor's available, then I'll step out and the mayor will step in. And hopefully we get to a good, we have a pretty concise deadline. I think 2 weeks, hopefully we'll have our list of needs that we both need for both of our departments. And then we're going to go from there, meet with the engineer, see what's feasible, and then bring it to the council to see if this is something that it shows a significant cost savings and could really be a benefit to both towns. So we met on that, and of course, with everything else, other discussions spawned, but we didn't really firm things up, so we focused on one thing at a time, and we'll get there. Just on another shared service note, in meeting with some of the seniors in town, they have come to me with asking if there's a potential for sharing senior services with Middletown. Middletown does have a significant senior recreation program. So we are looking into that. They can provide hot lunches at Croydon Hall, that kind of stuff. Again, we're not very preliminary. We don't know what it could mean, dollars and cents wise, if it could happen, how it could work. But, some of the seniors have expressed concern that they do want more. And it's not just the residents of Patak, it would be senior-wide throughout the community. So we're definitely going to look at those, explore those options, see if there's a way we can share those services, and then get a better understanding of what the cost would be to us, because I'm sure nobody is not going to let us just join in. And then again, this board will make a decision based on dollars and cents and what it could mean to the community.
From my experience, when we went into the one or two of the CREC meetings out of the 4 that we've had already, the thing that was very funny to me was the 2 people from CREC that represented the council had nowhere on their radar the things we wound up exploring going down the road right now. They're actually dead set against it. And we laid out how we thought it would play out with a shared supervisor and a combined manpower and being able to address multiple sites that, sometimes you need 6, but we have 3 or 2 and they have 3. So together we would have a combination of 8 with 1 supervisor and hopefully address punch lists in both towns as we had to.
It's a tackle problem.
Yeah, and I think that the beginning of the conversation was a lot different than the end. I would say.
Yeah, it really came out to be a very productive.
An eye-opening.
Yeah.
Okay. Website RFP?
There's nothing to report that was sent out, and when at the end of the period, we'll go over the RFP.
Carolyn, I have nothing on other business. Is there any other business?
No,
Mayor, I would just like to add the Memorial Parade is being held
That's Saturday.
Saturday, September 23rd.
That's September.
September.
That would be the
Where
Labor
did I
Day.
get Labor Day, Bike New York. Saturday, May 23rd, starting at 1 o'clock at Huddy Park. They are encouraging all residents or any groups that want to participate to please contact the American Legion. They really like to see the support of the community. They're working hard to keep the event going, and they just want me to pass that along. So if you need to, or you have a group that would like to participate, please contact the Legion.
Okay, thank you, sir. Public portion, Jennifer Perkel. I apologize. Jennifer Perkel, start again.
At 179 Madison Avenue, home of the one-way street. Your one-way street. Well,
Jerry, stay where you are.
Yes. That's why I said it. I just wanted to say, through the snow and many rainy and slippery days, that corner has stayed safe. Not one single accident since the one-way has been put in. The yellow poles have been unscathed.
Hasn't been
have
not one
not been scathed. Not even once. George Ruth has stayed far away from that fire hydrant. It's all good. I noticed that the no turn on red sign at the corner of Miller and 36 is gone in order to alleviate any traffic problems. With the exception of 2 people who have chosen to publicly, yell at me from across the street. How dare you be so selfish and put that one way to protect your family? It's been relatively quiet. Nobody has said word one about the street. So I just want to say to the council, Thank you for a very peaceful past few months. I have not been awakened once by sirens and fire department saying, don't come out your house, you'll get electrocuted. So, thank you.
And I'd like to, you're done, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, thank
I'd like
you.
to add to the fact that, so everybody understands what happened, as someone comes to the table, asks us to look at something, there's a process of public portion, debate, ordinance being introduced, ordinance being adopted, and another public hearing, and that was all adhered to.
And I'll have a report next week. Great. From 35 people.
Okay, and which will do due diligence and read that also, obviously. Kim Skorka?
Kim Skorka, 315 F Shore Drive. I had a lot of questions on the noise ordinance amendment, but I guess I'll wait for Chief Blewett to come back. I did see that we approved a new UFCW contract. Were we able to negotiate any cost savings?
Tim, you want to speak to that? I know you're.
I could not participate in that negotiation.
Oh,
Because of potential conflict. I can let
I
the,
can go over that with you separately. Tonight was just the resolution authorizing the mayor to sign it.
Okay.
So I don't have the details. The MOA's been approved already, but if you want to call me or I can send you a copy of the MOA. If you
Okay.
see that.
Okay, thank you.
Or just let me know after the meeting what you want.
Anything else, Kim?
No,
Good.
sorry.
Carol Bucko?
Carol Bucko, 330 Shore Drive. Okay, I've done some research on the marina, and I understand that we can't do anything about it.
The marina.
The marina on the bowling property.
Okay. What were we trying to do?
Well,
Just
they
so I
have
know.
raised the land.
What were we trying to do?
You weren't trying to do anything.
Oh, okay, you said me.
And you probably won't.
No.
But the fact is that they have raised the land to the top of the fence.
Is this by
To
the
the
planning
top
board
of the
agreement that was passed?
Apparently the DEP has approved it, apparently CAFRA has approved it, apparently all those people have approved it.
Pre-planning board approval.
They
for the
are
record.
still dredging,
Okay. I don't
they're
know.
still dredging, they have at least 12 feet of sand at the end of the street. I don't know where they're gonna put it, but if they're gonna put it on the ground, it's gonna go over the bulkhead.
Okay. Not okay, but I understand what you're saying.
Which then puts us at terrific risk of flooding. So I just want to make Dale aware, I'm sure he's aware, he's also been visited by some residents of Bayview, that they have to put the proper drainage in there. They have proper drainage approved, and they have to put it in there in order to protect the properties next to it.
Let's try to get an idea where they plan on. I'm sure they have a, a plan of scope.
Everybody should
We've
go
had
down
meetings with
there.
both
You
halves
don't have to go
of
on
that
their
project.
property to view it, but you should go down there and just look at the mounds and mounds and mounds of dirt and rocks that they're gonna put someplace on the ground. That's going to make the land very hard. So they might be up on the hill.
That was, I believe, a requirement also by some federal agencies to put those houses down there. That land raise was a requirement by some federal agencies.
yes.
Correct?
You can shake
I'm
your
sure
head
it
no,
is,
but it's a
because
requirement for them to build those homes.
Have we absorbed CBS on our tax brackets or tax list?
Conversation we had, yeah.
Okay, because that should happen.
I know we cleaned up the lot, that was what we did tonight. It was division, so obviously it's not divided anymore.
Okay, that's all for now.
Okay. Melissa Peterson? Okay. Cheryl Barr?
Hi, I'm calling something about the skate park.
Okay.
There's an ordinance, 3-13.19, enforcing all the rules of the skate park. Well, none of them enforce. Number one, the rules of closing the skate park, especially on
Can you stand up, ma'am? We're having a hard time. It's probably not picking up on the recording. I'm sorry.
The closing of the skate park, being closed at 5 o'clock on Sundays or closed at dusk on any days of the week, is never enforced. Wearing helmets or anything with the kids in the skate park, there's not one child in that skate park with any helmets or any kind of safety gear whatsoever. The use of the trash being brought in, the only people that bring it out, since the kids are supposed to bring it out, well, that's a laugh. The only people that bring it out are the people that actually go in and clean the park. There's graffiti written in there. The ramps are in extremely bad shape. I see kids on bikes without helmets going up on the ramps, which they're not supposed to be anyway. And the edge of the ramps are all up. So if a kid hits that and without a helmet on and falls, and the rules aren't enforced, who gets sued but us, you guys? So, these rules really need to be enforced. There's garbage in there, they're playing basketball in there. It's just basically nothing but a hangout, which is fine. I don't care that they're in there. The kids need to go someplace in town. But I say that they should just be in there with helmets on and the park be closed without people having to call the police all the time every time it goes past dusk. It's extremely loud. Imagine sitting there on a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday evening at 9 o'clock at night, hearing that all night long. I mean, we shouldn't have to deal with that. And this is an ordinance that's already, all I'm asking is the rules be enforced, please.
I would agree with you. We'll readdress that with the chief man when he gets back. Okay. Jerry, name and address for the record, please. Feliciano.
Jerry Feliciano, Peak Street, the second worst street in town.
But first, just go.
Down by North Peak.
Jerry, I'm sorry, I'll for the record.
Valley Avenue. I would like that to be looked at again and put back the way it was that I was using.
They're working on it, correct?
I'll have you report.
She has input from how many folks? 35?
I have 35, not counting your relatives. Not counting.
I don't know if that was a backhanded
How
comment.
about 20 people come up to visit me?
Well, she hopefully Ms. Ryan has that documentation.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and is bringing that back to the table at the next meeting for discussion.
Fine.
Which is what we said we would do, and here we are. That's okay, and we'll be here too, God willing.
Yes, thank you.
You got it, sir. Tina from 164 Linden.
Yeah, my question was.
You're good? Okay, thank you, man. I can't read this one, I apologize. 164 Linden? Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're good. Katie Reed, name and address, please, Kate, for the record.
Kate Reed, 7 Snuff Harbor Avenue. Hello. I presented something last May at the council meeting. I remember because it was around Mother's Day.
Okay.
Also, we're doing much better communicating, so
We're trying, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see that. But I didn't know I needed signatures, so I just have 25 signatures on the same thing I submitted last year. His is the only one in color. I apologize for that. It's about the dilapidated properties. That's what I was talking about. I talked to Tim about it last year. I've mentioned it to Dale. Most of the properties, you don't get full. Most of the properties have been pre-Sandy. There's 13 properties that are on the list. It's in our little neighborhood. I'm sure other sections are worse. I just wanted to officially submit it. You know, there's 25 names. If you need more names, I don't know how to get it on the board. But last time I didn't get the signatures, so somebody, I think it was Kim, encouraged me to get the signature. So there it is. And also, the property that we talked about, 326 Bay Avenue, the crack shack that we were talking about online, a lot of people. I contacted Mr. Takian, and I said in a letter, I just wrote him as a concerned citizen, and I said, hey, your property is a mess. It's been sitting there for like 30 years. And plans, you know, are you going to knock it down? Can somebody knock it down? And he was really, you know, he was like, if you guys want to knock it down, go ahead. But me, as a business owner, this is what he said, though. This is the concerning part. He says, as a business owner, there's no incentive for me to knock it down. And I thought, that's kind of alarming. It sat there for 30 years. There's no incentive for him to take care of his property.
We have a development in the program that Rebecca would like to weigh in and let you know.
Yeah, just so you know, we've been speaking with Dale and Kim and Fran Mullish. On the 19th, we're going to have a presentation to kind of kick off the PPDR program.
That's our next meeting.
Personal Property Debris Removal Program. So everything's in the works with who's going to be doing inspections, how it's going to be facilitated. I just thought before we threw an ordinance on just saying what it was, it would be helpful to the public in a way of communication to have a formal presentation. This is what's going to happen. I know the goal, one of the goals that we've set in the meetings is to have at least 10 houses knocked down prior to, September, October, going that route. So we started with 10. Yeah, I think so too. So at the May 19th meeting, Dale will be leading that presentation to kind of go through how the program will roll out, timelines, expectations, similar to what we've done for the community center. And then everybody will be on board with what's happening.
Also, there's a demo checklist that's missing. There's supposed to be a checklist. I told him that I'd get a hold of this checklist, and it seems to be at a sub-office or something that it should be readily available. It should be online. It should be really easy. If you want to get your property knocked down at your own expense, it should be really easy for you to do so. It shouldn't be.
Let me ask this question too. With this new program, well, that's now coming into fruition, how does it work as far as the dollar amount is a grant to knock it down? And then are we leaning the property? So there's a...
It's basically, I'll have more information next meeting. It's basically, it's a program.
I won't hold you to it, though.
Right, that FEMA does.
Okay.
All right, again, it's a 90% reimbursable. All right, it's a list of properties damaged with Sandy. All right, and then what happens is we provide the list, which is what they're waiting for. Then you go through the process of condemnation, right of entry, the whole 9 yards, owner consent, and then knock the houses down, and you have to monitor all the debris that comes off the site, you have to watch for asbestos, so on and so forth. But what happens is, I believe, I don't know where the lien comes into play.
Can you lean at 10% that you're not getting reimbursed?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure who, how that gets divvied up, but I'll have all that vetted out for next week.
That's important.
What's the criteria to get on that list, and can we get the crack check on those? Because he already said we knocked it down.
On this particular program, no, because it's talking post-Sandy, or as a result of Sandy. But there's other things we're working on for that, too. and money. Agreed. Agreed, but it would be a lie to say it's close to Sandy, because we know it's not.
Katie,
And
we
we don't
do
wanna
that
get-
on every list we could going back, and we did. Any house that didn't matter, we put it on the list, but when they came in and assessed, they would take it off the list because of pre-Sandy.
And I mean, I don't know if that's a property we can use through substandard housing with the increased budget amount.
He's already given us permission. I mean, I know he doesn't want to do it himself. He's a businessman, and he said.
We got the same response as you did, too, as a governing body.
So, you know, if he gave us permission, maybe we could find a way to.
But we can do it, but you have to pay for it.
And then we have to
we
leave the
just had the
property.
budget hearing.
Not
so
you personally.
it's, you know,
Well, there's creative ways to
No, I
get
agree.
things
It's everybody.
done. There's creative ways to get things done, and I'm sure we can come up with a solution.
One of the things he's going to be dealing with, our code enforcement officer is very happy with our new judge, and he's going to be getting summonses, and in due time, it's going to
Well,
cost
that
him.
would be motivating factor.
Yeah, that's how we're going to get people like him, because he has the financial means to do it. He just, like you said, he's choosing not to. We need a code enforcement officer now that has confidence in the judge that's going to slam dunk him. He's going to be moving forward.
And we've already gotten feedback from some of our professionals about, and I'm not going to knock past, but the current person in that position and how they're holding the line every time, which is what we asked them to do in the interview. So it's happening. Not as quick as everybody wants. We all want it to go quicker, but the tide has turned. Now it's just a matter of taking care of contracts.
So next would be
They're going to roll out
On
the
the
thing.
19th,
I'm going to have a presentation ready for next week.
And that'll, sounds like that's going to count for about a dozen post-Sandy homes. Good. Carlos, follow. Name and address. Are you sure? Last chance. Danny Shields. Name and address, please, for the record, Dan.
55 Shrewsbury and 56 Shrewsbury. I just want to say that I'm going on trial next week for doing business in this town, which is kind of strange to me, but I'm going through the proper channels. And there's a member of the planning board that has publicly, in front of you guys, said, when are we going after Wind and Sea? Now, he's an unbiased planning board member standing in front of this council asking, when are we going after Wind and Sea? When there's two other businesses in town that also have violations. Why is he singling me out? Why is he singling me out on social media? And why is he singling me out in front of the completeness board, which has nothing to do with public portion, and saying, raising all this craziness about my business when it's only about the completion of the application. And I think I'm being singled out, and I think you should step down. Thank you.
Herb Folker. Name and address, please. Good? Oh, I'm sorry.
Danny, I agree with you on that. We have a lot of conflicts in this community. In hindsight, if I could do it all over again, I would have recommended all our businesses go to an outside planning board, to another community that's very similar to that, because we do all utilize your business.
I was asked to go before the planning board.
No,
I was asked to take out building permits. I've done everything asked, and I don't know why I'm being singled out with this. I don't think it's fair.
Danny, thank you. You're doing the right thing, and we appreciate that from this side of the bench.
And I think the planning board will also.
And the planning board
as a whole.
And the community appreciates that, but the conflict issue is zero tolerance. And in the least little spit, people have to be professional, recuse themselves. As difficult as that may be, we have to embrace it.
Claudette, name and address, please.
Claudette New York, 12 Stevens Avenue. This question is for Tim Hill.
Tim Hill, I'm sorry.
In reference to something that Tara posted on Facebook, thank you for doing that. You are advertising for lifeguards. I'd like to know what you're paying them, since there doesn't seem to be any interest. There's been a lot of talk around town that we're probably not going to have lifeguards. because it's very low pay? So could you tell me what you're paying us since you're advertising for the job?
We're willing to pay up to $10 an hour to start, depending upon the credentials.
Up to $10 an hour for
Starting at
someone that
10,
is going to
starting
save a life.
starting at $10 an hour, ma'am.
Don't hang up too much.
It depends upon their experience criteria and what their role will be. If it's a head lifeguard that's going to be guarding and providing training, that could be up to $16, $17 an hour.
Okay. I think you need to get that out there because there's a lot of talk that you're paying $9 an hour to $10 an hour, and you want somebody, you have to have somebody that's certified first aid, CPR, as well as capable of rescuing someone. And for $9 or $10 an hour, you're just not going to get it. So we're going to have unguarded beaches again this summer. If you're
It's
not
a
out there
budgetary.
telling people
It's
you're
also a
gonna hire
budgetary
people,
issue that we've taken into consideration, and we did put further resources into the beach budget, hoping that we're going to get guards. If they don't apply,
You've got to let that out there. You've got to let people know that you're going to pay $16 or $17 an hour for certified guards. That's not out there. That's not out to the public.
the $16, $17 is close for the supervisor. There's other areas that pay $7, $8, $9 an hour, and I'm not going to get into debate on that. Yes, I would like to say we're going to pay $25 an hour for lifeguards. Quite frankly, I don't think our budget can afford it.
Well, I don't think losing a life in the river is worth, for $9 an hour, I can't go babysit and not have to file income tax on it and pay $10 an hour. And you're willing to pay $9 an hour, but take taxes out and ask somebody to risk their life to save some money. But you're not willing to say that you're willing to go up to $16 or $17 an hour. You need to do something. We need to have guarded beaches. We cannot have unguarded beaches again.
There's no law, Claudette, there's no law in the state of New Jersey that requires you to have lifeguards on the beaches. There is, just want to be clear, the public bathing code for the state of New Jersey regulates that.
I also understand that the town does not have a liability because I spoke to my attorney today, but the county has a liability. So if somebody drowns in that river on our beaches, they're going to go after the county, not the town. I do understand that because I asked that question.
Why would they go after the county?
But that's not an issue. We're talking about people's lives here, and you're not actively getting out there to try to get lifeguards on our beaches. You're not publicly advertising that you're willing to pay $16 an hour to get someone. Because if you're willing to do that, you would get people applying for the job.
It's a short season. It's open. It's just a short season. And all guards are hired.
There are a lot of teachers that are still in school.
Guys. Okay. Claudette, anything else? I appreciate what you're saying. I'm there with my kids, so I get it. Trust me. I have 3 kids down there.
It's a huge concern for me because we've had dragons in this river 2 summers ago.
Okay? Lori Dibble.
Lori Dibble, 2 Matthew Street. I have a couple quick questions about the code 1520.
Oh, 1520, I apologize.
That was the modifying requirements of local home district. I'm questioning about the timing of this.
Timing?
Yes, because aren't we in the process of redoing the master plan?
We are,
Isn't
and if
this
it's
the
passed,
kind
it'll
of
be
thing that
incorporated
should
into
be addressed in the master plan and
I'm sure it
not
will
be
be.
done by a request by a particular person?
It can be either way. We're
Shouldn't
choosing it
it
this
be
way.
part of our master
It will
plan?
be. If adopted, it'll be incorporated into the master plan.
But having high rises there,
Mid-rise.
mid-rise, is something that should be considered as part of the master plan.
It would be. It would be incorporated into what's passed, obviously.
Well, I'm just concerned. This is
We
something.
can talk to a blue in the face. You're against it, which we've said
I
many
didn't
times on the record.
necessarily say I was against it.
You are on the
I'm
record
asking-
many times saying that. We're
No,
for
I
it.
didn't say that.
We can sit here and try to save every
I
nickel we
haven't
can.
said that.
No, I'm just making a statement.
I'm
We can
asking
sit
about
here
the
and try to
timing.
save every penny we can from cutting people's salaries and things like that. The reality is the business model in this town is not working. We need to generate more revenue. We can't keep asking an average income of $50,000 per family to keep paying more taxes.
Isn't this the purview of the master plan and the master plan committee and the professionals that we're hiring who help us figure out the
It's also
direction
the
of the
ability of
town
the
and
council
how this
people to do
works?
something
I
too.
don't think that that's responsible, considering we're in the midst of this process, and we are hiring professional people to help us, for someone to interject themselves in and say, this is the business model we should be having.
Okay.
I
And we
think that's
disagree
an
with you.
abuse of your
We
position.
took it to
of
the
the
next,
position.
and that's your opinion. Okay. Chris Francie?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Motion adjourned.
Offered by Mayor Noel,
Second.
second by Ms.
I'll be right down.
All in favor?